Rejection is one of the hardest experiences anyone can face. But what if rejection is not really about losing something? What if it is actually leading you towards something better? What if the very situation causing you pain today is quietly guiding you to the life you were always meant to live? When a man chooses another woman, it is easy to take it personally. It is easy to replay every conversation, every memory, and every small detail, asking yourself what you did wrong, what you should have changed, or why you were not enough. Your mind searches endlessly for answers, trying to find the exact moment everything fell apart. But that way of thinking becomes a trap. It keeps you stuck inside an illusion. The truth is that nothing truly went wrong. Nothing valuable was taken from you. Life simply stepped in and moved someone out of your path because they were never meant to stay in your future. The pain feels real, and so do the disappointment and heartbreak. Those emotions are completely natural, but here is something most people never stop to consider. What if this is not happening against you? What if it is happening for you? Stay with me because this changes everything. Every rejection, whether it comes through love, work, or friendships, can become a new direction pointing towards something far greater. Yet most people become so focused on what disappeared that they fail to notice they have actually been released from something that was limiting them. They mistake freedom for failure. They grieve an ending without realizing it is also the beginning of something they cannot yet see. Imagine you are driving toward a destination, completely unaware that the road ahead is blocked. If nobody stops you, you will continue until you reach a dead end with nowhere left to go. Now imagine someone tells you to turn around. At first, it feels frustrating. You wonder why your journey has been interrupted when everything seemed fine. But what you cannot see is that changing direction is saving you from wasting precious time on a path that was never going to lead where you wanted. That is exactly how rejection works. It feels unfair, it feels painful, it feels like something precious has been taken away. Yet hidden beneath that pain is protection. When someone chooses another person instead of you, they are revealing something important without even realizing it. They are showing that their heart, their priorities, and their future no longer match yours. Instead of allowing you to invest more years into something that would never fully grow, life quietly removes them from your path. Most people refuse to accept this. They chase after someone who has already walked away. They try to prove their value, explain themselves, or convince the other person to stay. But none of that changes the truth. The wrong person will never become the right one because of your effort. If they truly belonged in your life, they would not have left. If they genuinely recognized your worth, they would never have needed to compare you with someone else. The next part may surprise you. Every ending creates room for a new beginning, even if you cannot recognize it yet. Whatever you believe guides life, there is one pattern that appears again and again. When one door closes, another opportunity is quietly preparing to open. The difficulty is that most people never wait long enough to see it happen. They stay trapped in thoughts about what they lost instead of making room for what is coming. If someone chooses another path, allow them to go. Not because you are angry, not because you want revenge, but because you trust that your journey is moving towards something far better than what you were trying so hard to keep. Whenever rejection hurts, remind yourself that you are being positioned for something greater. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What new opportunity is this creating?" Years from now, many people look back on painful heartbreak and quietly realize they were actually protected. Think about the people you once believed you could never live without. Later, you often recognize that letting go was one of the greatest gifts life ever gave you. That realization proves something powerful. Rejection is rarely the end of your story. It is often life saying that you deserve more than what you were settling for. Most people only focus on the immediate pain because they cannot yet see the bigger picture. But once you step outside your emotions, you begin to understand that nothing meaningful is being taken away forever. It is simply making space for something that fits your future much better than your past ever could. Think about cleaning out a crowded closet. If you refuse to let go of old clothes you no longer wear, there is no room for anything new. Relationships work in much the same way. Holding tightly to people who no longer belong in your life prevents new opportunities, healthier connections, and greater blessings from reaching you. Once you truly accept that rejection is simply a change in direction, everything begins to feel different. You stop taking every disappointment as proof that something is wrong with you. You stop chasing people who cannot recognize your value. You stop begging for attention or trying to convince someone to love you. Most importantly, you stop asking, why did they choose someone else instead of me? Because you realize the answer is no longer important. What matters is that you have been released from something that never truly matched the person you are becoming. Instead of seeing only loss, you begin seeing possibility. Instead of carrying bitterness, you carry confidence. Every person who leaves creates room for someone who is better aligned with your future. A woman who truly understands her value never begs to be chosen. She does not wait around hoping someone will finally recognize what she brings into a relationship. She understands that her worth exists, whether someone notices it or not. She is not chasing approval because she already knows who she is. The moment you genuinely see yourself as valuable, your entire life begins to change. You stop searching for validation from someone who cannot appreciate you. You no longer waste energy proving your worth to people who refuse to see it. Instead, you stand firmly in the knowledge that you are already enough. That confidence quietly changes everything. It changes how you walk, how you speak, and how you carry yourself. It cannot be faked because it comes from within. When someone chooses another person, your mind may immediately begin making comparisons. You wonder if she is prettier, younger, more interesting, or somehow better. Those thoughts are dangerous because they pull your attention away from your own value. They make you forget that nobody else can replace what makes you unique. Nobody else can offer exactly what you bring into a relationship. If someone fails to recognize that, they were never the right person to begin with. A person who truly deserves your love will never leave you questioning whether you are enough. They will not keep you guessing or force you into competition. They recognize your value without hesitation. Many people believe they must change themselves to become more desirable. They think becoming more like someone else will finally earn the love they want. But the moment you begin changing your identity just to keep another person interested, you slowly lose yourself. You were never meant to shrink your personality or reshape your heart just to fit someone else's expectations. Your strength comes from remaining true to who you are, and someone who truly deserves to share your life will value exactly that, without asking you to become anyone else. If a man is still trying to decide whether you are the right woman for him, then he has already given you the answer you need. A man who is truly right for you will recognize your value without hesitation. He will not need to explore other options or compare you with someone else before making up his mind. He will see you for who you are and appreciate your worth from the very beginning. If he cannot do that, then he is simply not meant for your journey. Many women have grown up believing they must earn love. They are taught that they have to prove they deserve a man's attention, affection, and commitment. They are told that being chosen is the ultimate goal, as though their happiness depends on someone else's decision. But that belief is one of the biggest illusions people carry. You were never meant to sit quietly waiting for someone to choose you. You were never meant to hide your light so another person could feel brighter. You were never meant to struggle for a place in someone's heart. The moment you begin seeing yourself as the prize, everything starts to shift. You stop waiting for approval. You stop trying to convince people of your value. You stop accepting less than you deserve because you finally understand that the right person will recognize your worth without being persuaded. Stay with me, because this one realization can completely change how you see relationships for the rest of your life. A woman who truly values herself does not settle for half-hearted love. She does not accept empty promises or the smallest amount of effort while hoping things will improve someday. She refuses to remain with someone who treats her like just another option. Instead, she walks away with quiet confidence, knowing that leaving the wrong person is not a defeat, but a victory. She gains self-respect, peace, and personal strength. She understands that every goodbye creates room for the right person to enter her life. The man who belongs with her will not need endless convincing. He will not need to be begged to stay. He will be emotionally ready, willing to commit, and fully capable of giving the love she deserves. It is never your responsibility to make someone recognize your value. If they cannot appreciate it on their own, they are not the person meant for you. Someone who truly belongs in your life will never make you feel like you are competing for their attention. They will never leave you questioning where you stand or wondering if someone else matters more. The right man takes action instead of making excuses. He creates security instead of confusion. He recognizes your worth from the start instead of realizing it only after you have walked away. Here's what most people never realize. Chasing someone who cannot see your value only delays meeting the person who always will. Too many women spend years holding on to someone who has already shown them they are not the right partner. They hope they can change his mind, prove they are better than someone else, or become everything he wants. But a woman who truly knows her value does not play those exhausting games. She understands that her energy is precious and should never be wasted trying to convince someone to appreciate her. She realizes that if a man chooses another woman, it says far more about his own path than it does about her value. She does not fight for what is already meant to belong to her. She trusts that what is truly hers will never require endless chasing. A confident woman does not fear losing the wrong man because she knows the right one will never force her into that position. She understands that her love is a gift, not something to be earned through struggle. She values her time too much to spend it with someone who cannot recognize what she offers. Because she knows her worth, she does not beg, chase, or compete. She simply continues living her life with confidence, trusting that the person who truly deserves her will find her naturally. That confidence does not come from arrogance. It comes from finally realizing that her happiness cannot depend on another person's decision. Heartbreak has a strange way of making people forget who they really are. It creates doubt where confidence once lived. Suddenly you begin questioning your beauty, your intelligence, your personality, and even whether you deserve to be loved at all. When someone chooses another person, your mind immediately starts comparing. You ask yourself what they have that you do not. You replay every conversation, searching for mistakes and imagining different outcomes. But there is a far more important question to ask. Why are you allowing another person's choice to make you forget your own value? That is what rejection often does when you allow it to define you. You hand your self-worth over to someone else's opinion, yet the truth remains unchanged. Nobody has the power to decide your value. No relationship, no breakup, and no rejection can remove what already exists inside you. Real self-worth is built from within. Unfortunately, many people have been taught to seek validation from outside themselves. They believe they matter only if they are chosen, admired, or loved by someone else. That belief quietly places all their confidence into another person's hands. The moment you do that, you surrender your power. But someone who truly understands their value knows it remains the same whether another person notices it or not. A diamond remains valuable even if nobody picks it up. Gold never loses its worth simply because it is hidden from view. Your value remains exactly the same whether someone recognizes it or completely overlooks it. Everything changes when you begin seeing yourself through your own eyes instead of constantly viewing yourself through someone else's approval. You stop waiting for validation. You stop believing another person's lack of appreciation says anything about your value. When someone chooses another path, it reflects their own preferences, priorities, and stage of life. It is not proof that you were lacking, yet many women take rejection as evidence that they were not attractive enough, intelligent enough, or lovable enough. They convince themselves that if they had done more or changed more, things would have ended differently. But love has never worked that way. People do not leave because you failed to become someone else. They leave because the connection was never truly meant to last. One of the biggest mistakes people make is tying their entire identity to a relationship. They begin believing their value depends on another person's love. That is why heartbreak feels so overwhelming. It is not only the loss of a partner, it is the collapse of the identity they built around that relationship. But here is the truth that changes everything. You were whole before that relationship began, and you remain whole after it ends. You do not need another person's love to complete you because you were never incomplete in the first place. The next part may surprise you. Once you truly understand this, you stop giving your power away forever. Many people have been taught that being chosen by someone else is life's greatest achievement. That belief traps countless women in endless cycles of heartbreak because they feel they must constantly earn love or compete for attention. But a woman who truly understands her value has no desire to compete. She already knows she is enough exactly as she is. If someone cannot recognize her worth, she understands that it is their loss, not hers. She knows the right person will never require endless persuasion or repeated proof. Healing begins the moment you remember who you really are. It begins when you separate your identity from any relationship and stop believing your value depends on another person's decision. Instead of rushing into another relationship hoping someone new will repair your confidence, you begin rebuilding it from within. You spend time remembering everything you already bring into the world. Your perspective changes from asking, "Why wasn't I enough?" to asking, "Why did I believe someone who could not value me deserved my energy?" That shift changes everything. Real strength comes from realizing rejection is not a judgment of your worth. It is simply removing what no longer belongs in your future. Every ending quietly creates space for something better. Every closed chapter prepares the way for a new beginning. Too many people remain focused on what has disappeared, never noticing the opportunities appearing in front of them. Rejection is not the final page of your story. It is the first page of a stronger one, giving you the chance to grow, rebuild, and step into the fullest version of yourself. Everything begins to change when you stop searching for approval from other people and start recognizing the strength that already exists within you. The real transformation happens when you stop measuring your worth by whether a man chooses you and begin understanding that your value was never meant to depend on someone else's decision. The truth has always been simple. You were enough from the very beginning. You just had to believe it for yourself. When a man chooses another woman, the first reaction is usually pain. You feel rejected, disappointed, maybe even betrayed. Your mind immediately begins searching for explanations. Was I not attractive enough? Was I lacking something? Did I make a mistake? But those questions only lead to self-doubt, unnecessary suffering, and endless overthinking. The reality is that another person's decision is not a reflection of your worth. It reflects their own priorities, their own perspective, and the path they have chosen. The moment you change the way you look at rejection and begin seeing it as a new direction instead of a defeat, everything shifts. Suddenly, what looked like a painful ending starts looking like hidden protection. The people who truly belong in your life will never need to be convinced to stay. They will never require you to prove your value. Stay with me, because this realization can completely change the way you approach every relationship from this moment forward. Too many women continue holding on to men who have already left emotionally, even if they are still physically present. They replay every conversation, searching for the exact moment things changed. But once someone has already made the decision to walk away, why keep investing your heart in something that no longer belongs in your future? Why continue giving your energy to someone who could not recognize your value in the first place? The strongest choice you can make is to let go. Holding on only keeps the pain alive, while letting go opens the door to healing. Releasing someone is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the greatest acts of courage. It takes real strength to walk away from someone who once meant everything to you. It takes even greater strength to accept that someone who once promised forever has chosen a different path. But that strength is exactly what separates women who truly respect themselves. They understand that living in the past cannot create a better future. They know that trying to force someone to stay only drains their confidence and weakens their peace. A woman who truly knows her value does not beg. She does not chase. She does not waste her time convincing someone to appreciate her. She quietly walks away with dignity, trusting that whatever truly belongs in her life will never require force. Many people fear letting go because they believe they are losing something important, but in reality, they are gaining themselves. They gain clarity, they gain self-respect, they gain peace of mind and make room for opportunities that could never arrive while they remained attached to the past. The longer you cling to something that no longer belongs in your life, the longer you delay the blessings waiting ahead. Here's what most people never realize. Holding tightly to yesterday often blocks everything tomorrow is trying to bring you. When you refuse to release someone who has already moved on, you create an emotional prison for yourself. The only real way out is through acceptance, trust, and the willingness to believe that something far better is still ahead. Letting go is about much more than leaving a relationship behind. It also means releasing the need for someone else to validate your existence. Too many people connect their self-worth to whether another person stays or leaves. But genuine confidence does not depend on outside approval. It stays steady regardless of who enters or exits your life. A truly confident woman does not need a man to remind her of her value. She does not seek approval from someone who has already decided to leave. Instead, she understands that her worth comes from the way she sees herself. The moment you begin valuing yourself, fear begins to disappear. You stop worrying about losing people who no longer belong in your life. You realize that walking away is not defeat, it is victory. It is taking back your peace, your confidence, and your freedom. You were never meant to beg for love. You were never supposed to convince someone to recognize your value. If a man cannot appreciate what you bring into his life, then he is simply not the right partner for you. The sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you create space for the life you truly deserve. Real freedom begins when you replace a mindset of scarcity with one of abundance. Many people remain trapped in unhealthy relationships because they believe they will never find someone better. They convince themselves that this person was their only chance at happiness, but those thoughts are born from fear, not reality. The world is filled with possibilities, deeper love, stronger connections, and healthier relationships. The only thing preventing you from finding them is refusing to release what was never meant to stay. Letting go does not mean pretending you never cared. It does not mean ignoring your emotions or acting like the pain never existed. It means allowing yourself to feel everything honestly, processing those emotions, and then making the decision to keep moving forward anyway. You are allowed to grieve, you are allowed to cry, to miss what once was, and to mourn the future you imagined. But you were never meant to live there forever. You were meant to heal. You were meant to rise. You were meant to become an even stronger version of yourself. Every time you release something that no longer belongs in your life, you send a powerful message that you are ready for something greater. You declare that you deserve more. You refuse to settle for less than the love and respect you truly desire. That mindset naturally attracts healthier people and better opportunities. The moment you stop chasing, stop begging, and stop clinging to what has already slipped away is the moment life begins shifting in your favor. Letting go is never about losing. It is about gaining peace, clarity, confidence, and freedom. It is choosing yourself instead of chasing someone who refused to choose you. It is realizing that your greatest reward was never the relationship itself. It was becoming the person who finally understood her own worth. And once your focus moves from what disappeared to everything you are gaining, your entire outlook begins to change. Everything changes the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Pain can become one of the greatest teachers in your life, but only if you choose to learn from it. Most people waste their pain. They allow it to consume them instead of allowing it to shape them into someone stronger. But pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to rebuild you. It strips away illusions, insecurities, limiting beliefs, and the self-doubt that has been holding you back. It forces you to face yourself honestly and discover a strength you never knew existed. When you stop resisting the pain and begin using it as fuel, everything starts to shift. The energy that once kept you trapped in heartbreak becomes the same energy that drives your growth. Think about how much time people lose living in the past.